Where we are, they're threatening personal fines, they're threatening arrest, they're threatening vacating our job. They are threatening us, and we know why they're threatening us, because the threat worked for them. When Trump threatened to primary them and have them lose their seat, they gave in and they gave him what he wanted. If you're not willing to lose the job, to do the job, then that's not public service. And so we're here because it is a sacrifice. It is public service.
You know, we're fighting for democracy and we're putting everything on the line. We're here because if we don't do this and if Donald Trump gets his way, then we know our constituents are going to suffer. They're going to continue to cut health care. They're going to continue to cut public education funding, and that's unacceptable for the future of this country.
But you all are accepting donations from either Texas and out-of-state Democrats, right?
And that's the beauty. You know, we're fighting for the people, and the people are the ones funding this quorum break. We have been flooded with grassroots donations across the state of Texas from our constituents, Democrats, independents, and some Republicans who want us to fight for free and fair elections. And that's how we're funding this operation, and we're proud to have that be our source of income.
The governor says it's a bribe.
Where was he when Ken Paxton was going through his court case?
Well, and the contrast is stark. Greg Abbott took $12 million from an out-of-state billionaire to defund our public schools. We're relying on grassroots donations from ordinary Texans to stand up for their voice in the democratic process. I'm fine with that contrast.
And other people from out of state. I mean, to be fair, there's
Sure.
money coming from other
because
places.
this is
the
not,
governor's helping.
And this is not just, well, this is not just a Texas problem. This is an American problem. Because if Donald Trump is able to rig the next election, he won't have any check on his power. He'll be able to keep wrecking our economy, starting wars, protecting pedophiles without any accountability. And so this is about whether or not we're going to have checks and balances in the future. This is a national problem, not just a Texas problem.
Governor, the Attorney General say they may seek your arrest. You willing to go to jail over this?
We knew there were going to be consequences. And I think all of us know that this is bigger than us as individuals. It's bigger than the jobs we have. We are fighting for the American experiment. We're fighting for representative democracy and whether or not that will continue. And so we're willing to face whatever consequences may come our way.
But I also want to make sure people recognize this threat of arrest, this is not normal. Do not think that we can turn into a nation where you arrest and jail your political opposition for not only rendering their voice for the people, but doing something that is protected by the Texas Constitution. A quorum break is written into the Texas Constitution. It is a tool our founding fathers gave us. The threat of arrest is something that should be a red alarm for a lot of folks.
Well, I just want to say it's very consistent. Greg Abbott is trying to silence the voices of Texans and prevent them from picking the elected officials of their choice. And now he's literally saying he's going to remove the representatives that the people have put into office. So he's taken a page out of Donald Trump's authoritarian playbook, and it's something we should all reject.
You know, the people of Texas want leadership, and Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton have shown that they are afraid of that. They're only going to do what Donald Trump tells them to do, and we're trying to offer that. We're trying to fight for the people of Texas because they've turned their backs on them, and that's why we're here. And so we're not afraid of the consequences. When we heard Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton's threats yesterday, it just made us know that they were scared. They were scared they weren't going to be able to do the bidding of the president, and that we were here doing the right thing. And we're standing up for 31 million Texans while we do this.
You know there are Democrats in your state, Democrats in your caucus, Democrats who represent you in Congress, and Democrats all across the country who say if Texas Republicans are going to do this, Democrats have got to do this in some states where they have full control. In essence, fight fire with fire. Do we not run the risk, though, of burning it all down if this keeps up?
Look, we're trying to raise awareness. That's our main thing. We want this to stop. We want Greg Abbott to back down. There was a Republican in Congress in California that today filed a bill to make a national stop to this because they understand that what we're doing is raising the conversation and that this would be bad for everybody. So to your point, yes, we run that risk. Greg Abbott needs to back down, and then everybody can back down, and we can go back to working for the people of Central Texas that need help right now. We want the American people to know that this isn't a Texas problem, this is an American problem. We're talking to everyone across the country because if Greg Abbott and Donald Trump get away with stealing 5 seats in Texas, that's just the beginning. And it will impact all of us. We're talking about less health care for every American, less support for our public schools, and Texas will just be the beginning. They will bring this policies and procedure to every state. So all Americans must take this threat seriously. They must join us in this resistance as we stand up and fight back against Donald Trump and what he's trying to do right now in Texas.
Yet don't forget, last year they did this in North Carolina. They just needed to move 4 seats in North Carolina, and he got his bill by 1 vote. And so now he needs 5 seats in Texas. When we say it is time for Democrats to stand up and say, look, you guys can't keep moving the playing field, you want to do it, the American people ought to expect that we ought to do it too. Or we reach this point where we say, you know what, you guys should stop drawing lines. Let the people draw the lines. And we're fine with that.
I think the only thing I would add is that this is not an issue of party, it's an issue of power. Yes, Democrats and Republican politicians both gerrymander, and it's wrong in both instances. This is particularly egregious, it's particularly brazen, particularly discriminatory in the middle of a decade. That's why we're here. But we have to end this practice once and for all. People in power want to stay in power, and so they rig the game, they rig the system in their favor. It's time for the American people, regardless of their political party, to stand up against it.
And to the Republican charge that you guys leaving the state allows them to turn around and say they're playing games, they're trying to draw attention to this, they're avoiding the flood debate, you say what?
We have to use every tool in the toolbox. We have a constitutional right to break quorum. It's something that we are doing. Quorum means withholding, and that's what our constituents want them to do, is to stop this bill any way we can. This is one of the tools that we have, and so we're using it.
This is kind of like the bully that takes your lunch money every day. At some point, you got to stand up. Otherwise, you just end up broke and hungry. And so that's where we are politically. We've told Republicans, enough, you've gone way too far.